This series kicks off by introducing Oh Won-soo, a stunning woman at the helm of the Now Foundation, Korea's largest charity, which is owned by her in-laws. Despite her humble beginnings, Won-soo persevered and integrated into a wealthy family. She is dedicated to helping people globally, earning her the title of the Angel of Charity. During one of her goodwill missions, Won-soo visited Manila, Philippines. While there, she delivered a speech at the World Welfare Institute and engaged with key figures to discuss her foundation's initiatives. In a meeting, her secretary, Yoo Soo-young, informed her about an email from a terrorist group threatening her life. Soo-young recommended that Won-soo cancel all her Manila engagements for her safety. Nevertheless, Won-soo felt compelled to proceed with some crucial appointments. She had a brief interview scheduled with a local journalist. Additionally, she was set to meet with a wealthy Middle Eastern individual interested in donating to the Now Foundation. At that same time, a Korean man named So-yoon arrived at the hotel where Won-soo was conducting her meeting. Do-yoon had previously been a police officer in Korea but left his position a few months prior to visit Manila for personal reasons. He visited the hotel's casino, filled with activity, where he observed a gang of criminals involved in Manila's largest illegal operations. He discreetly followed them to the restroom. There, he overheard discussions about a hitman known as Mr. L. This hitman was responsible for the death of a Korean policeman and was presently in Manila for another assassination job. Upon hearing this, Do-yoon recalled his friend and fellow officer, Shin Joo-hyuk, who had been murdered by Mr. L during a mission in Manila. It became clear that Do-yoon's purpose in Manila was to find Mr. L and seek justice for Joo-hyuk. In that moment, Do-yoon disguised himself as a repairman to infiltrate the gangster boss's room. Inside, he witnessed Park Kyung-joo, the chief bodyguard of the Won Group, owned by Won-soo's in-laws, handing over a bag of money to the gangster leader. From their conversation, he realized Kyung-joo had ordered Joo-hyuk's assassination. Later, Kyung-joo contacted Do-yoon, having learned of his presence in Manila, requesting a meeting. Do-yoon reflected on the night he couldn't save his friend because Mr. L attacked before they could apprehend him. Determined to uncover who was behind his friend's murder, Do-yoon plotted to intercept Mr. L during his next assassination attempt. The following day, Do-yoon went to a building where Won-soo was scheduled to meet. As Won-soo exited her vehicle, Mr. L, concealed with a sniper rifle, began shooting at her. Do-yoon, unaware of Won-soo's identity, rushed to protect her when her bodyguards were already down. He cleverly used a fountain to shield Mr. L's view, then swiftly helped Won-soo escape in a car, driving out of the city. Once they reached the outskirts, a still-shaken Won-soo asked Do-yoon why he had saved her since they were strangers. Do-yoon claimed he was just passing by at the right moment. Soon after, he discovered a GPS device in the car, which he discarded to prevent anyone from tracking them. Doubting whether the Manila police would provide assistance, Do-yoon resolved to take Won-soo to his home. In his modest apartment, he treated his injuries and suggested Won-soo contact someone trustworthy to pick her up at the embassy. Unfortunately, Won-soo couldn't recall any phone numbers, not even her husband's or brother's. So, Do-yoon decided to escort her to the Korean embassy in Manila. Eventually, Won-soo's husband, Yong-guk, arrived at the embassy to retrieve her. Yong-guk expressed relief at finding his wife safe and urged her to cancel the fundraising event she was organizing. Despite Yong-guk's concern, Won-soo seemed indifferent and didn't truly listen to him. She remained silent during the journey back to the hotel. Meanwhile, Kyung-joo checked the embassy report and discovered that Do-yoon was the one who had rescued Won-soo. Kyung-joo met with Do-yoon to express gratitude and offered him a position as a bodyguard at Won Group, learning that Do-yoon had been taking odd jobs since leaving the police force. That evening, Do-yoon contemplated Kyung-joo's offer. To avenge Joo-hyuk's death, he chose to accept the job. He felt he couldn't betray Joo-hyuk, his best friend since adolescence. Joo-hyuk had even donated a kidney to Do-yoon, instilling a deep sense of gratitude toward him. The next day, Do-yoon informed Kyung-joo that he would join Won Group as a bodyguard. Meanwhile, Won-soo quarreled with her mother-in-law, Park Miran, who wanted Do-yoon to bribe the Chinese embassy to facilitate Won Group's business deals with a Chinese company. Won-soo refused, not wanting to tarnish her reputation by engaging in unethical actions. Later, she spoke to Yongguk about the money bag Kyungju had delivered. She suspected that Miran had pressured Yongguk to influence the Chinese embassy. Shortly after, Won-soo held a press conference regarding the attack she experienced, attributing it to a terrorist organization. Although she was the target, Won-soo declared her determination to continue her humanitarian efforts. Unexpectedly, her press conference infuriated Miran, who felt Won-soo acted without consulting her. At the hotel where the press conference took place, Won-soo encountered a boy named Jun-hee and his mother, Young Tra, who had once been Won-soo's assistant. They were invited to the fundraising party Won-soo was hosting that evening. Seeing Jun-hee reminded Won-soo of her own son, Chan-hee, who was the same age but had tragically died in a traffic accident. Later that evening, as Won-soo and Yongguk made their way to the party, Kyungju introduced Do-yoon as Won-soo's new bodyguard due to his earlier heroics. Kyungju noted that Do-yoon was a former senior police officer currently vacationing in Manila. Won-soo was taken aback to see Do-yoon again. At that moment, Yongguk promised to reward Do-yoon for his assistance before ushering his wife into the party. Flashing back to Won-soo's childhood, she endured a challenging upbringing. She and her older brother, Hyun-soo, were raised by their single mother, Shim Chun-hee, a golf coach. Chun-hee had suffered mistreatment from Miran, leading to her unjust termination. Out of frustration, Chun-hee stole little Yongguk's golf club to ensure Won-soo became an accomplished golfer. Over time, Won-soo's golfing talent became increasingly evident. Chun-hee was determined to send Won-soo to America for athlete evaluations, using her savings alongside support from the Wong Group Foundation. Through hard work, Won-soo achieved professional golfer status, winning numerous tournaments. Years later, she returned to Korea after clinching a major tournament, only to find all her prize money went towards settling Chun-hee's gambling debts. Disheartened by this, Won-soo chose to sever ties with her mother. Subsequently, she committed to donating her earnings to charitable causes. Returning to the present, during the fundraising event, Won-soo introduced Yongguk as the deputy chairman of Wong Group and a frequent donor to the Now Foundation. She also announced a newly secured donor from the Middle East. As the party continued, Won-soo mingled with guests. Meanwhile, Yongguk secretly signaled Tara to rendezvous in a hotel room for their ongoing affair. During the festivities, Jun-hee informed Won-soo that his mother was missing. Shortly thereafter, Won-soo searched for Tara, discovering her in a hotel room with Yongguk. Caught off guard, Tara and Yongguk hurried to fix their attire. Calmly, Won-soo advised them to be cautious given the large number of journalists at the event. With trembling hands, she exited the room and returned to the main party. Though she didn't say a word, Do-yoon, observing her, sensed trouble in her marriage. At the dance floor, Won-soo was compelled to dance with Yongguk, feigning happiness for the sake of their family's public image, even though love was absent. From afar, Tra watched, feeling envious as she acknowledged her position as Yongguk's mistress. After the event, Won-soo approached Miran to confront her about Yongguk's infidelity. Miran was already aware of her son's behavior and hoped Won-soo would initiate divorce proceedings soon. Surprisingly, Won-soo stated that she intended to remain in the Wong family. She even threatened Miran against meddling with the Now Foundation, especially since Won-soo had caught wind of Miran attempting to siphon funds from it. This revelation deepened Miran's animosity toward Won-soo. That night, burdened with her issues, Won-soo drank alone at the hotel bar. When a bodyguard came to keep an eye on her, she insisted he return home. Feeling isolated, she reminisced about her initial encounter with Yongguk. They first volunteered together in Africa. Even though they had only crossed paths a few times, Won-soo admired his kindness and his family's backing of her ambitions. Their bond grew stronger, leading Yongguk to propose upon their return to Korea and to introduce her to Miran. During that introduction, Miran looked down on Won-soo for coming from a poor background and being supported solely by her older brother after their mother's disappearance. However, Miran eventually consented to the union because of Won-Soo's positive public image and her selection as a beauty model for one of Wong Group's products. Miran even entrusted Won-Soo with managing the Wong family's charity foundation. Conversely, Won-Soo's older brother was instructed to mislead her, claiming their mother was deceased. This was to prevent Won-Soo from holding on to any hope of Chun, he attending her wedding. Returning to the present, despite her frustrations with Miran's demeanor, Won-Soo couldn't extricate herself from Wong Group. Outside the bar, Do-yoon noticed Won-Soo alone and vulnerable, prompting him to decide to watch over her until she got back to her hotel safely. When a drunken Won-Soo spotted Do-yoon, she unexpectedly asked him to stay with her. Feeling a duty to assist her, he entered her room to help when she almost lost her balance. Unbeknownst to them, Won-Soo's room key had fallen outside, allowing anyone to enter, including Yongguk, who sought her out. Fortunately, Kyung-ju arrived first, retrieved the key, and informed Yongguk that Won-Soo was quite intoxicated and needed rest. Inside the room, Won-Soo attempted to persuade Do-yoon to stay, but he resisted her drunken attempts at flirtation. The following day, as Won-Soo prepared to return to Seoul, she felt awkward around Do-yoon. She puzzled over why she had made such a request of a mere bodyguard she had just met. Upon arriving in Seoul, Kyung-ju guided Do-yoon to the Wong family's estate for his new role as Won-Soo's personal bodyguard. Shortly thereafter, Kyung-ju showed Do-yoon to his workspace and outlined his responsibilities. Glancing at a photo of himself with Ju-hyuk, Do-yoon mentioned Ju-hyuk's demise. Kyung-ju expressed sorrow and explained that investigations hadn't progressed since the case unfolded abroad. A moment later, a female bodyguard named Lee Jean-king introduced herself and informed Do-yoon that Won-Soo wished to meet him. In the park, Won-Soo pondered her rationale for remaining with Wong Group, reflecting on a vow made to her late father-in-law, Kim Duo, the previous head of Wong Group. Back in Do-yoon's office, he inadvertently dropped his photo with Ju-hyuk, revealing a hidden memory card behind it. Upon reviewing the memory card, he found footage of Duo's death. This led Do-yoon to speculate that Ju-hyuk was killed because he possessed knowledge regarding Duo's death and left the card intentionally for Do-yoon to find. Soon after, Do-yoon rushed to Won-Soo to notify her that someone in her close circle might be plotting to kill her. He confessed that he traveled to Manila to expose the truth behind his friend's death, which he believed linked to the threat against Won-Soo. However, Won-Soo remained skeptical of Do-yoon's assertions, still assuming the threat stemmed from an international mafia opposing the Now Foundation. 2 years ago, Do-yoon and Ju-hyuk received a confidential assignment from Police Commissioner General Byung A.K. Back then, Do-yoon was tasked to serve as a presidential bodyguard, while Ju-hyuk was directed to investigate a wealthy businessman frequently meeting the president. Byung A.K. cautioned them to keep their mission confidential and report solely to him. Do-yoon found the assignment suspicious but complied without question. Later, Ju-hyuk was dispatched overseas to surveil Chinese gangsters in Manila implicated in illicit activities. Ju-hyuk confided in Do-yoon, divulging that he was probing into Duo's death, associated with Wong Group's money laundering schemes. Tragically, Ju-hyuk lost his life in a confrontation just as Do-yoon arrived in Manila. Following Ju-hyuk's passing, Do-yoon requested Byung A.K. to send him to Manila for inquiries, but Byung A.K. rebuffed him and attempted to suppress the matter. Frustrated, Do-yoon resigned from the police department. In the current timeline, Do-yoon's protective instinct left Won-Soo feeling uneasy. Upon Won-Soo's arrival at the foundation's office, her elder brother, Kyun-soo, paid her a visit, urging her to monitor Young-min, Yongguk's younger brother, who was encroaching too much on Won-Soo's business dealings. During their discussion, Won-Soo shared her intent to transform the foundation into an international entity to thwart Miran from misappropriating its assets. Despite her brother's objections, Won-Soo was resolute, wanting to steer clear of Wong Group's money laundering activities. After work, she confronted Tra for failing to secure the hotel room while engaged in an affair with Yongguk. Won-Soo emphasized that she wouldn't jeopardize her reputation for a sordid scandal. Tra then revealed that Jun-hee was actually Yongguk's son. Won-Soo was taken aback by this revelation, realizing that Yongguk married her to mask his involvement in a narcotics scandal, leveraging her respectable image to enhance his own. Despite Taere's exposure of Yongguk's secrets, Won-soo adamantly refused to divorce him. Upon returning home, Miran contacted Won-soo to share plans for relocating Junhee into the Wang family residence, asserting he deserved the same rights as Yongguk's biological child. Rejecting Miran's scheme, Won-soo pushed Yongguk to send Taere and Junhee abroad. However, Yongguk appeared hesitant to go against his mother's wishes. Later that evening, Taere vented to Miran about Won-soo's threats. To ascertain Junhee's true lineage, Miran secretly arranged a DNA test, confirming he was indeed Yongguk's biological child. After obtaining the results, Miran instructed a family photograph be taken. On the day of the shoot, Won-soo was shocked to see Junhee and Taere participating. Taere sought Yongguk's attention, irritating Won-soo and prompting her to exit the photo session. This sparked yet another clash between Won-soo and Miran concerning the family portrait. Although Won-soo protested, she was powerless as Miran insisted on integrating Junhee into the family, replacing Chan-hee, who had died 5 years earlier. Miran even pressured Won-soo to bear children if she desired Junhee and Taere to leave. Won-soo was exasperated, having never shared a bed with Yongguk. The following day, Won-soo was dismayed to discover Junhee moving into the house, occupying Chan-hee's former room. Witnessing her late son's belongings being transferred to storage filled her with sadness. To clear her mind, she decided to drive alone but nearly collided with a truck while exiting the driveway. Seeing this, Diyun jumped in after her, insisting on staying with her despite her resistance. A few hours later, they arrived at a beach where Won-soo could unwind. Diyun gently brushed sand off her feet with a handkerchief, which deeply moved Won-soo. At that moment, she confided in Diyun that she typically found it hard to trust others, but would put her faith in him if he could procure evidence linking Ju-hyuk's death to the threat against her. After strolling along the shoreline, Diyun escorted Won-soo to his private villa outside the city. Won-soo was astonished to see Yongguk there, who claimed to know she often visited the villa during difficult times. While serving drinks, Yongguk broached the topic of wanting another child. But when Won-soo remained cold and unresponsive, he grew angry and attempted to force himself on her. Noticing the commotion from outside, Diyun rushed in to separate them. Annoyed, Won-soo demanded Diyun take her away, causing Yongguk to realize that her feelings for him had vanished. During the drive, Won-soo stayed quiet, not indicating where she wanted to go, prompting Diyun to take her back to the Wang family residence. The next day, Soo-jong reviewed Won-soo's agenda with her, during which she discovered that her husband hadn't returned home overnight and had gone to his apartment early in the morning. Simultaneously, Diyun and Lee Jian were inspecting the Wang Group's security system and surveillance control room monitoring headquarters and its branches. During this time, Diyun demonstrated his martial arts prowess by sparring with the toughest bodyguard, emerging victorious. Afterwards, Diyun conversed with Kyung-ju about Duo's death while inquiring about Won-soo's son. Notably uneasy at this mention, Kyung-ju advised Diyun to catch up on recent news for details, explaining that Duo passed away from a heart attack at home. Taking this suggestion, Diyun met with a Wang Group security officer to request access to surveillance camera footage for familiarization purposes. Unfortunately, the footage yielded no new information regarding Duo's demise. Diyun then revisited the recordings left by Ju-hyuk, realizing that Duo did not die at the Wang family mansion, increasing his suspicion that Duo was murdered by someone Ju-hyuk was familiar with, and that Ju-hyuk's death was meant to cover that up. Before long, Diyun, increasingly suspicious of Duo's killer, stealthily entered the butler's quarters, Bayon Kokbun, who had been with the Wang family for many years and might possess clues about Duo's death. To his surprise, he stumbled upon a clandestine room intended for monitoring surveillance cameras. Quickly, he copied all surveillance footage data but was interrupted by Lee Jin. Caught in the act, Diyun claimed he was looking for the butler to ask a question. Though Lee Jin was wary, she chose not to pursue the matter further, mentioning that Yongguk sought to meet him. Soon after, Diyun approached Yongguk in his room, where Yongguk warned him to refrain from interfering in his personal affairs. Duyun clarified that his responsibility was to ensure neither Yongguk nor Won-soo harmed each other. That evening, Duyun pored over the surveillance footage he gathered from Kokbun's chamber. After watching throughout the night, he discovered a lead showing Kyung-ju receiving orders from Yongguk to deliver a bag of money somewhere. On another day, Miran called Han Sang-il, Wang Group's legal representative, to discuss appointing Yongmin as the new head of the NOW Foundation. During this conversation, Miran plotted to coerce Won-soo into resigning voluntarily. Upon hearing Miran's scheme, Won-soo felt her in-laws had crossed a line. Consequently, she enlisted Hyun-soo to help spread rumors about Yongguk's affair and his secret child. Hyun-soo was taken aback by this request, noting that Won-soo had no intention of divorcing Yongguk to safeguard the Now Foundation. Before long, these rumors circulated in the media, infuriating Miran. Yongguk also became frustrated as he navigated a swarm of reporters waiting outside Wang Group's office. Meanwhile, numerous journalists approached Won-soo seeking her input on the allegations. Sticking to her plan, Won-soo maintained her composure, ignoring their questions as she entered her office. Amidst speculation, Tara felt emboldened. She and her mother, Sorian, went to the foundation office, urging Won-soo to grant an interview for Tara to gain recognition as part of the Wang family. Tara boldly entered Miran's office during a meeting concerning the rumors and asked Sang-il, the legal representative, why he hadn't discovered who started the gossip, which affected Wang Group's stock prices negatively. Eventually, Miran instructed Won-soo to remain at home until the situation calmed down. The next day, Won-soo feigned a meeting with a minister to acquire permission to leave the house. Deceiving both Miran and Lee Jin, she requested Duyun's company for a covert press conference aimed at addressing her husband's scandals. During the conference, Won-soo refuted all claims and asserted that Jun-hee, residing in the Wang family home, was actually Duo's son from an affair. This statement ensured journalists couldn't fact-check as Duo had passed away. At home, Miran watched the press conference, fuming. While it effectively obscured Yongguk's affair, she felt humiliated by Won-soo's actions. Upon returning home, Won-soo faced Miran's ire. Won-soo argued that her choices were necessary to mitigate Yongguk's scandal. She warned Miran that she wouldn't remain silent if Miran continued trying to oust her from the foundation, reminding her that Won-soo knew numerous secrets about her. Concurrently, Tara found the press conference infuriating, which cast her in the light of a mistress to a wealthy man. Meanwhile, Duyun faced criticism from Kyung-ju for failing to inform about Won-soo's planned press conference, which should have been safeguarded. Shortly after, Tara and Jun-hee settled in the Wang family mansion, intensifying the busyness of the bodyguards and staff. When Won-soo showed Tara and Jun-hee their accommodations, Tara felt discontented upon being referred to as Yongguk's mistress. Won-soo also cautioned Tara to maintain a low profile around her. Early the next morning, Duyun accompanied Won-soo on a jog. She lamented her life since Tara and Jun-hee's arrival. Duyun questioned why Won-soo opted to conceal her husband's scandal. Won-soo then recounted a memory involving the late Duo, referencing a hand scan she had to do to confirm her identity for banking access. Duo told Won-soo she would ultimately comprehend his reasons for requesting her to stay with Wang Group, especially because she had just lost her only son. This commitment solidified her resolve to honor her promise to Duo. After hearing Won-soo mention Duo, Duyun disclosed that Duo's demise wasn't at the main house and that Mr. L, who attacked Ju Hyuk and Won-soo, was connected to Duo's fatality. Later that morning, Won-soo met Seo Ji-yeon, Yeoman's wife, to deliver wine sent by Miran and extend an invitation to the Wayne family dinner. Even though they were both in-laws within the Wang family, Won-soo and Ji-yeon had a rocky relationship. A short while later, Won-soo attended a family dinner, feeling the pressure of disappointing connections from Miran's cosmetics business regarding China. Afterward, Miran voiced her dissatisfaction, deeming Won-soo unreliable. Won-soo proposed securing the Chinese deal in exchange for control over the foundation. Miran remained taciturn, unable to wholeheartedly commit to granting Won-soo control of the foundation. On another occasion, both Won-soo and Miran attended the grand opening of a welfare center, unknowingly wearing matching outfits. Photos of them together quickly gained traction online, with many suggesting Won-soo seemed more suited to lead the foundation. During that time, Miran, a judo black belt, trained with the bodyguards, defeating several of them. When it was Do-yoon's turn, he showcased his skills, managing to overpower her, which prompted Miran to respect him. One night, Miran finally unveiled Chun-hee's existence, hidden from Won-soo for years. Miran confessed to sending Chun-hee to a mental institution to spare the Wang family from disgrace. With Chun-hee's health deteriorating, Miran advised Won-soo and Hyun-soo to visit her immediately. Learning this, Do-yoon transported Won-soo and her brother to a secluded mental hospital managed by the Wang family. Upon arrival, Won-soo was taken aback by the prison-like appearance of the facility. Inside Chun-hee's room, Won-soo confronted her helpless mother, triggering memories of her tumultuous teenage years. Previously, Won-soo had battled debt collectors to shield her mother from harm, often enduring physical abuse when Hyun-soo was away. In the present, Chun-hee no longer recognized her daughter and rambled about wanting to apologize for squandering Won-soo's money on gambling. Soon after, Chun-hee's condition worsened, leading to her passing. Still mourning, Won-soo returned home to face Miran. Despite knowing Chun-hee had just died, Miran prohibited her daughter-in-law from attending the funeral due to a scheduled business meeting with the Chinese embassy the following day. Miran insisted that if Won-soo failed to attend, Wang Group would lose billions, ensuring that both Won-soo and Hyun-soo would suffer the consequences. The next day, with a heavy heart, Won-soo obeyed her mother-in-law and presented herself at the embassy meeting. She delegated Chun-hee's funeral arrangements to Hyun-soo. After the meeting, Won-soo discreetly took her late mother's ashes to a special location, accompanied by Do-yoon. To avoid being tracked, she deactivated the GPS in her car and requested Do-yoon drive her to her childhood home. Observing Won-soo's sorrow, Do-yoon allowed her to lean on him for comfort. Meanwhile, Yong-guk panicked upon discovering the GPS in his wife's vehicle had been switched off. He ordered his men to locate Won-soo, who was scattering her mother's ashes at the beach. In her grief, Won-soo forgave her mother's past mistakes but couldn't excuse Miran for confining Chun-hee for years. Mirroring this, Miran, with spies trailing Won-soo, discovered her whereabouts and received a photograph of Won-soo leaning on Do-yoon's shoulder. That evening, upon Won-soo's return home, she was met with Yong-guk's fury. He assaulted Do-yoon and ordered him to resign. Later, Won-soo visited Do-yoon to check on his well-being after the attack. Unexpectedly, Do-yoon professed his feelings for Won-soo and encouraged her to leave the Wang family to stop her suffering. Instead of reciprocating his affections, she requested Do-yoon to be her trusted ally, aiding her in unveiling the person attempting to endanger her life. In her room, Miran reprimanded Yong-guk for recklessly hitting Do-yoon. She expressed disappointment in his jealousy, reminding him that he frequently cheated on Won-soo. In response, Miran insisted that Yong-guk mustn't dismiss Do-yoon from his duties. They also deliberated on Tra living with them, which made Yong-guk contemplate divorcing Won-soo. Miran forbade such action, emphasizing the need to protect Yong-guk's inheritance rights and preserve their hidden secrets. She even devised a plan to eliminate anyone who threatened to expose their truths. One night, Do-yoon ventured to a nightclub to seek out the gangster leader, but the leader declined to meet him and instructed him to leave. Afterwards, a gangster chief named Hyun Wang informed Kyung-ju of a mysterious figure seeking him. Upon reviewing surveillance footage, Kyung-ju was astounded to recognize Do-yoon. The next day, Kyung-ju summoned Do-yoon to his room, questioning why he was searching for Hyun Wang. Instead of answering, Do-yoon accused Hyun Wang of being hired to eliminate Ju Hyuk. He also harbored suspicions that Kyung-ju had a hand in Ju Hyuk's demise, particularly since he had seen Kyung-ju delivering bags of cash to gangsters. Do-yoon also suspected Yong-guk's involvement. Kyung-ju defended himself, asserting that he was merely ordered to manage money laundering in various nations. He further detailed how Duo perished after engaging in relations with a woman at her residence. To obscure this scandal, the Wang family covertly relocated Duo's body to their house, announcing his death as a heart attack. At that moment, Kyung-ju reminded Do-yoon not to push too far, as he couldn't cope with Ju-hyuk's passing. If Do-yoon continued this path, Kyung-ju suggested he draft a resignation letter. Despite Kyung-ju's explanations, Do-yoon remained unconvinced and vowed to unveil the truth surrounding Ju-hyuk's death, even at the cost of confronting his superior. That night, Won-soo and Do-yoon converged in the kitchen. There, Do-yoon relayed Kyung-ju's admissions about Duo's death. Perceiving discrepancies, Won-soo asked Do-yoon to investigate Sang-il, Miran's accomplice overseeing the foundation's finances. On another day, Won-soo was slated to visit a foundation outside the city. After the visit, their vehicle suddenly came under drone assault. Do-yoon, behind the wheel, skillfully evaded several shots, but the drone shot at the car, resulting in an explosion that incapacitated Do-yoon, Won-soo, and another bodyguard. In a semi-conscious state, Do-yoon glimpsed a motorcyclist, seemingly one of the Wong family's bodyguards, halting beside the wreck to inspect whether the targets were dead. Once the rider departed, Do-yoon struggled to extract the unconscious Won-soo from the back seat. He succeeded in pulling her out just before the vehicle ignited once more, sustaining injuries from shrapnel in the process. Moments later, an ambulance arrived to transport all victims. Among them, Won-soo sustained minor injuries, while Do-yoon and the other bodyguard required extensive medical intervention. When Won-soo was shifted to the treatment area, Yong-guk remained at her side, concerned for her condition. He was taken aback to find Won-soo with only slight injuries, believing she was protected by her bodyguards. After undergoing surgery for his back, Do-yoon was placed in a recovery room, still unconscious. Then, a bodyguard named So-dum sneaked into Do-yoon's room with intentions to harm him, but the plot failed when Yong-guk entered shortly after to check on Do-yoon. So-dum exited the hospital and contacted someone to announce their unsuccessful attempt on Do-yoon's life. The following day, news of Won-soo's attack dominated major headlines. Rumors swirled that a terrorist organization targeting Won-soo since her Manila trip orchestrated the attack. Nonetheless, the family spokesperson stated they could not disclose information just yet, awaiting the victim's recovery. At home, Miran entertained a visit from Byung-gak. She voiced her discontent with the South Korean government's security measures and demanded an immediate arrest of the assailant. Strangely, when Byung-gak met with Sang-il, Miran's right-hand man, Sang-il discreetly requested Byung-gak halt the investigation into Won-soo's attack, fearing repercussions on the company's stock stability. Meanwhile, Yong-guk instructed Kyung-ju to hand over funds to the gangsters. This marked the second occasion Yong-guk had distributed substantial amounts from the company, believed to originate from a tactical fund he had established. Shortly afterwards, Sang-il informed Miran. Via Kyung-ju's intel, Sang-il discovered Yong-guk had amassed 2 billion won in tactical funds spread across 6 accounts. However, Miran remained unfazed, reasoning her son needed financial support. Instead, she urged Sang-il to convince the Cosmo Cosmetics president to accept an investment proposal from Wong Group later that evening. Yong-guk stumbled upon Miran clandestinely conferring with Sang-il. He had been aware of their unique relationship since childhood, having caught them together at one point. What's worse, Duo also had knowledge of their affair. Meanwhile, having recuperated, Do-yoon confronted Kyung-ju, demanding he divulge information concerning Ju-hyuk and Duo's deaths. At that juncture, Do-yoon still doubted Kyung-ju's loyalty amid mounting pressure. Kyung-ju eventually confessed Do-yoon's suspicions were valid, revealing the perpetrators targeted the Now Foundation, where tactical funds were stored. Later, Won-soo requested Do-yoon discreetly retrieve the tactical fund ledger from Sang-il's office. Without delay, Do-yoon proceeded to the office and observed Sang-il returning from a round of golf. Since Sang-il's office was locked, Do-yoon utilized Sang-il's fingerprint, which he had duplicated from a drinking glass. Demonstrating resourcefulness, Do-yoon successfully accessed Sang-il's office and sought the tactical book he required. Unbeknownst to him, So-dum, the guard on duty, spotted him. Just as So-dum was about to alert Sang-il, the latter entered to find the room empty, as Do-yoon had already exited with a fake tactical fund book. The actual ledger was secured within Sang-il's safe. In the series finale, Ji-yoon convenes with Won-soo and Hyun-soo to present the tactical fund ledger. As they deliberate on who will open it, the prosecutor's team arrives with a search warrant for Won-soo's office. They proceed to arrest Hyun-soo under suspicion of embezzling corporate funds. The series concludes. The moral takeaway from this series is to be cautious of those who offer to create false financial records or offer physical comfort following trauma, as they can entangle you in legal troubles. And always inspect your vehicle for concealed GPS tracking devices.